Okay, so I'm delighted to say joining me today is Sally Joynson, the Chief Executive of Screen Yorkshire. How are you, Sally?
I'm very good, Ryan. Good to speak to you.
Thank you very much, likewise. So, for anybody who hasn't heard of Screen Yorkshire before, could you tell us a little bit about what Screen Yorkshire do?
Okay, so Screen Yorkshire has been in existence for about 18 years now, so nearly 2 decades, and our job is to support and grow and develop the film and TV industries in Yorkshire. And we do that in lots of different ways. We operate a film office, so any producer who wants to film in Yorkshire will come to the film office and they'll get lots of support for locations, crewing, logistical support. So that's one thing we do. We also help train the workforce and develop talent, so writers, producers, directors. We run talent development schemes, and we also, most importantly probably, run a big investment fund. So we run a thing called the Yorkshire Content Fund, and that part finances film and TV, and that means that we can lever those productions into Yorkshire. So really anything to do with the screen industries, it comes through Screen Yorkshire at some point. We work very closely with lots of national partners like BFI, British Film Institute, British Film Commission on international ideas and also strategic opportunities. So it's a big job, but frankly, it's all about Yorkshire and it's all about film and TV. That's what we do.
That's great to hear. And are there any particular projects that you've been supporting recently that you want to talk to us about?
Well, through the Yorkshire Content Fund, we have now supported over 50 productions. And I suppose the most recent one is All Creatures Great and Small. And the reason for mentioning that is because it's on air at the moment on Channel 5, Tuesdays, 9 o'clock. But also because it's going down a storm with audiences. There couldn't be a better showcase for some of Yorkshire's most beautiful locations. And it's Channel 5's highest rating show. It's, fantastic, absolutely fantastic. And it's also characters and storylines that I think are chiming really well with audiences at the moment. It's just gentle. Somebody described it to me as smiley TV. And I think that's what it is. It's just gentle storylines, beautiful countryside, strong performances by the cast, but it just feels as if it's hit the right spot for the moment.
That's great. And we were saying a little bit off air that with the what we're going to talk about soon, which is the Filmed in Yorkshire website, which has been launched this week, that you've done a lot of press and local radio interviews and stuff like that, where the response from people when you're talking about doing these kind of projects, like Creatures Great and Small in Yorkshire, the response has been really positive.
It has. We always get a lot of press interest in what we're doing in Yorkshire. And I think because Screen Yorkshire, we try to be high profile on behalf of the region. But this week we've launched a new initiative, Filmed in Yorkshire, and we've had so much press interest in that. Obviously a lot of local and regional press interest, but also national press. And that's really pleasing. And again, it all adds to this picture of the strength of Yorkshire's screen industries. But this week, a slightly different direction for Screen Yorkshire with what's called Screen Tourism new website.
Wonderful. And what were the reasons behind setting this new website up?
Well, screen tourism is something I've actually wanted to do for a long time. But with coronavirus and the dreadful impact on communities, business, the economy, we decided to bring this forward now and get screen tourism out there as a way of generating and encouraging more visitors to come and visit Yorkshire. So that was one reason, but the other reason was because we have All Creatures Great and Small on air at the moment, and it seemed the perfect combination. So while lots of millions of people are watching All Creatures Great and Small, let's give them a glimpse of some of the locations. So we have pushed this through really fast, from design of the website through to actually launching it. I think we've done in 4 weeks. So it's been, Screen Yorkshire is still a small team, so it's been all hands to the pump on this one. But it's really those combinations, all creatures great and small, and trying to do our bit to help support the recovery of the economy.
Fantastic. And for anybody who's listening, when you say the term screen tourism, what is exactly meant by that? I mean, I'm presuming it's people, physically going to a lot of these sites and seeing them. But as you say, we're pushing this site out so quickly. I imagine that, especially with COVID going on, that's not possible. And the website's maybe filling that gap a little bit.
I think so. So screen tourism is very simple. There's a report that HBO did a few years ago, which reported that 1 in 4 people planned their getaway, their weekend away, on the basis of their favourite TV series or a favourite film. 1 in 4 people. Now that is a pretty impressive statistic. So you take a production like All Creatures Great and Small, and you show people where the locations are. And that's what Filmed in Yorkshire does. It shows you where the locations are, but it features those locations that are publicly accessible and are open to the public. So scenes that are filmed in somebody's house, we're not going to show those because obviously not open to the public. But in All Creatures Great and Small, the fictional town of Darrowby, where all the scenes are set, is actually Grassington in North Yorkshire. So you have a site, you show where the locations are, you give the map references, you talk about some of what's gone on in those places related to the production, and you invite visitors to come and see. Now, because of the restrictions on both domestic and international trade, we know that a lot of people are not going to be able to come now, but we hope this website will lay the foundations for the months and years to come when things are a bit easier. But also, even if you're not able to visit, it's an opportunity to look behind the scenes a little bit at some of these glorious locations and have a bit of sunshine and Yorkshire warmth.
You mentioned about COVID there, and obviously a lot of what we talk about is related to COVID. And I think, again, part of why this has had such a big response is that, it's nice to see some positive feel-good stories during a time where things are not exactly great. And in terms of laying those foundations, I wondered as well, and it's funny this because obviously we at Kirklees Local TV and Public Eye have been, as a news and film organisation, have been adapting to COVID as well, of course. Usually we'd want to do these kind of interviews in person. Of course, at the moment, it's difficult to do that. So in terms of the film and screen industry, how has that been, or certainly from your position, how has that been adjusting to life through COVID and, as you say, continuing to try and be able to film things and get stuff out there for people to watch?
COVID's had a massive impact on the film and TV industry, and I think that's reflected. The number of repeats that are showing on TV at the moment. There has been an almost complete standstill of production for about 6 months of this year. So everything stopped because you couldn't go out and film. So that's been the first thing. Production ground to a halt. I think the second thing that's happened is the audience tastes have changed during the last 6 months, and some of the shows that were on the verge of going into commission or were being pitched to commissioners are just no longer relevant. They're not the kind of things that people want to see anymore. In drama, I mean, any production now has to have massive risk assessments for COVID. Crews are smaller, they're tighter, access to drama sets is very, very heavily restricted. But I think the other thing that's happened, and I think that is reflected in the fact that you and I are talking by Zoom, there has been a massive shift in technology, and it feels as if we've, 2 to 3 years of technological changes has all been squeezed into 6 months because of COVID. So we're seeing more and more interviews being conducted by Zoom instead of face-to-face. So, the shift in technology, more stuff being shot on iPhones, more user-generated content being a natural part of on-screen content now. So it's had a really dramatic effect on the industry. And some of it has been good, certainly in the way that we think about what to film, how to film it, where to film it. Really interesting shift. But I think the hiatus in filming has been pretty devastating. The good news is, for both the industry and audiences, is that production is starting up again now. And in fact, Screen Yorkshire's film office has never been busier. We take in between about 400 and 500 filming inquiries each year, and that can be from the UK and internationally. We are busier than ever because there is such a backlog of productions, and Yorkshire is high profile. It's a really great place to come and film.
And finally, on that, it would be a nice thing to end the interview on, in terms of when you say it's such a great place to film. Of course, you know, as somebody who lives in Yorkshire, I've lived in South Yorkshire all my life. You know, I'm living in Sheffield at the moment. I can look out my window at the moment, and I'm on the edge of the Peak District. You know, there's a lot of beauty that I see every day, and most of us see every day. However, from your kind of experience and expertise, what is it like, not just for the kind of ordinary person like me, but for film crews, for production companies, what is it for you about Yorkshire that makes it so high profile and so special?
Okay, that is a really interesting question, and there's no single answer to it, but and not in particular order. So the first thing is about its locations. Yorkshire is a huge region, and within that region you have got pretty much every location you can think of, possibly apart from a Saharan desert. But you have coastal, dales, the moors, beautiful towns and country villages. You also have really strong urban landscapes, so centre of Sheffield, Leeds, Hull, really fantastic cities. You have your gritty places as well. And what that means is that for producers, you can shoot pretty much anything in Yorkshire, and you can do it quite cost effectively because there is limited travel time between these locations. So diversity of locations is certainly one element of it. You can't film here unless there is a really good crew that you can hire to film. And we are blessed with having a very, very strong crew base in Yorkshire. So that's another factor. But the reason that we have a strong crew base is to do with the quantity of production that we've had over the last 8 years or so. And Screen Yorkshire has been behind an awful lot of that production because we run an investment fund. And that investment fund, quite simply, part finances film and TV productions. We don't give out grants or subsidies. We invest on a commercial basis, and we want to have our money back so that we can continue to invest. But when you're making film and high-end TV dramas, money is everything. They are expensive to produce. So if you have a regional fund like ours, and you link that to lovely locations and a really strong crew base, and an organisation like Screen Yorkshire that is on the ground to smooth the path of filming, it's a very, very interesting offer for producers. And Screen Yorkshire spends a lot of time building those relationships, maintaining those relationships with producers so that we know 1, 2, 3 years in advance what might be coming down the line, and we'll be doing our best to get it into Yorkshire. So it's a combination of factors. And the more production that goes on, the higher the profile. The more people see of Yorkshire on screen, the more they think of Yorkshire as a place to do business. So it's that kind of combination of factors.
And as you say, at a time where our economy is struggling and people are struggling for work and things like that, those things seem it's such an important coup, I guess, for Yorkshire to have that, and to have people like yourselves at Screen Yorkshire, as you say, smoothing that process and bringing more people to this wonderful region.
I think somebody once described us as we're a bit like the engine in a car. A lot of what goes on at Screen Yorkshire is under the bonnet. You don't see it. That's why, you know, talking to producers, working with them, thinking about locations, the bit that you see is the final product. It's when you see it on screen. But there is so much work that goes on behind the scenes to make that happen, to get it to Yorkshire. film and TV, you know, it's a global industry and it's a hugely competitive industry. So you can't take your foot off the gas. You have to keep getting out there, promoting Yorkshire, profiling the productions that are here. But because we've had so many fantastic productions, that's why Filmed in Yorkshire, launching that this week, has been such a great thing to do.
Wonderful. And it's great for me as well. And I hope for people watching this to get a better sense of what is going on under that bonnet, what has to happen for those wonderful productions and programs that we see on TV to actually exist in the first place.
Yeah.
Sally, thank you ever so much for joining us today. Great to hear about Filmed in Yorkshire and Screen Yorkshire. Best of luck with it all.
Thank you, Ryan. It's really nice to talk to you.